In life, we meet people whom we trust for the very first moment. We only need a few seconds to feel immediate positive energy, what results in building instant rapport. Their naturalness and spontaneity make people to lead honest and open conversation. We call them naturals. Some of them were born with this gift. Some had to develop such skills over many years of socializing, experiencing rejections and disappointments. Personally, I belong to the second group. In the past, I couldn't have sold anything. What's more, I had even a problem to go to a shop and ask for what I needed. One situation I remember especially well. It happened when I was around 7. My father asked me to go to the shop which was located at the railway station in a small town where we lived to buy a pack of cigarettes. Nowadays, this seems irresponsible to send a kid to buy such kinds of things. However, in Poland, in the 80s and early 90s, the high commercial standards haven't been developed yet. At that time, nobody thought it was something wrong, and beyond doubt, it was acceptable according to the social norms. Simple help with household chores. But anyway, I got a mission. To make it clear, at that time there was no point to argue with my father. What he said, it must have been done. So, despite my objections and black scenarios appearing in my head, I had no choice but to return with a pack of cigarettes in my pocket. So, I got on my bike and paddled to the railway station, which was 1.5 kilometers away from my home. The first minute as my journey began, in my head I started to struggle. I don't remember how long I stood under a huge chestnut tree that grew nearby before I decided to go inside the building of railway station. What I remember is mainly my visualization that flashed through my head as I approached a small car desk to place an order. When I finally dared to take the first step, I've got the feeling as time stood still. From that moment, virtually everything was like in a slow motion scene. Although I have been analyzing this situation several of times in my kid's mind, I barely was able to say what I wanted to the saleswoman. When she finally understood what I meant and turned back to give me what I came for, in a split of a second, I have felt very proud of myself. I was very excited. I did it. Mission completed, I thought. But satisfaction didn't last very long. Lady had no rest and she asked me to change the money. A magical moment fades away as soon as it appeared. I was crushed. I had no idea what it means to change money. When I returned home, I was instructed what to do next and where I should go. But it was too much for me. I only remember how I was riding helplessly and crying on my bike between the house and railway station, trying to buy a pack of cigarettes a few times more. I was paralyzed by fear. I don't know why, but I felt ashamed, alienated. In my head, I heard only the rattling sound of the toy fan that was mounted to the handlebar of my bicycle. That is exactly how my first financial transaction in real life looked like. And over the next several years, a little has changed. I was stuck in terms of interpersonal interaction related to contacting people and generally everywhere where it was necessary to talk to the strangers. As a teenager, I was constantly struggling with a lack of money. Once, for instance, I decided to invest in video games and sell them in one of the bazaars in Warsaw. I was desperate. I needed enough money and I didn't see any option to get it. Having any mentors who could show me the right direction, I was looking for the easiest solution. So, coming back to the new promising business, these were copies, not the originals, and of course the sale itself wasn't legal too. Business would seem ideal to earn some extra money. I decided to invest all my savings and I started. Soon, the CDs were prepared and ready for sale. So, what could have gone wrong? The clash with reality was brutal. People only take a look at my table where the games were laid out and walk away. I was helpless, not able to say word nor sell anything, even one single piece. I had a product that was several times cheaper than in the store and I failed. While at the same time, people like me were selling the same stuff pretty successfully. I gave up quickly. I didn't feel it. I was totally embarrassed. The environment in which I grew up, my background, and lack of appropriate mentors caused that my self-esteem and faith in my abilities were very low and didn't allow me to look with great hope in the future. My plans were very limited. Just to find a proper job, thanks to which I could pay my bills and survive. Mediocrity was the norm, and even that I was struggling to achieve. I worked in a warehouse doing physical labor, unloading and loading trucks with people who didn't have any higher goals than work from 5 to 9 and have a beer after. I felt mentally destroyed. I knew it wasn't for me. I always liked to read and I had quite extensive general knowledge, but I wasn't an expert in any particular field. Despite many attempts to find my place and path in life, I couldn't point out the dominant area of my interest. Maybe apart from a tendency to psychologically analyze aspects of human behavior, but I didn't see it then as a particularly useful skill. Years have passed, my frustration grew, and I didn't know what I would like to do in my life. I felt very lost. One day, my girlfriend brought home a book which she received from her new manager. She described him as an old man in his 60s who was intelligent, motivated, and very concerned about new responsibilities. And depending on the society and country man live, people may be afraid of losing their jobs at some point of their career, assuming that nobody will want to hire them because of their age. And at that time, this mentality was especially intensified in Poland. Professional experience wasn't considered as a huge advantage as it is nowadays. Unfortunately for this guy, he had a very nasty boss, a woman who knew everything best and had no respect for people. My girlfriend told me that despite of staying late in the office and giving his best, he was insulted and called out from fools. One day, he was found dead in his office. He died of a heart attack. I was really moved when I found about it. I was sad even though I have never met him. I thought that I would never like to experience something similar in my life. In the heat of the moment, I reached for a book that laid on the desk for several weeks. I opened it and started to read. The book was brief and short. I read it one evening. But that day I knew what I would like to do in my life. The book was titled Be a Sales Superstar, written by Brian Tracy, and this is how my journey began. Over the next several years, I was constantly learning, gaining knowledge and experience. An internal transformation has taken place. I was no longer a shy boy who couldn't buy a pack of cigarettes at the railway station. Thousands of conducted business meetings, countless number of closed sales, and millions of kilometers spent in the car traveling from client to client taught me a lot. Cooperation with technological companies, multinational corporations, investors, contractors, engineers, and designers in industries including petrochemical, steelworks, machine building, automotive, train industry, on private and state-owned projects, on the domestic and foreign markets. All that gave me a broader view and a deeper understanding of the sales process and human psyche. Continuous analysis of every single cell and its dynamics allowed me to conclude what really works and what is just a waste of time. All this time, I have been constantly looking for answers to the following questions. What makes someone a good salesperson? How to win clients and overcome objections? Finally, I realized that the most important and priceless is you, and who you eventually become. More important than any techniques and strategies that are just a smokescreen when you don't have real confidence and charisma in order to implement them effectively. Regardless of whether the company has well-developed sales strategies, social media, and funnels designed to generate new leads, every business needs salespeople who are able to take advantage of the market opportunities and win new clients. All other, even the most sophisticated mechanisms generating sales are just tools. They can work perfectly and for sure should be used by every single motor company to get a greater impact on their industry. But the salesman's primary role is to act, not wait in the hope that someone will respond to the marketing campaign and place an order. With a well-identified market and qualified prospects, all indirect attempts to generate sales is simply procrastination. Direct approach and market research is the easiest, fastest, and the cheapest at the same time way to achieve success in sales. Especially nowadays, people tend to doubt the effectiveness of cold approach simply because they don't know how to do it right and are afraid of rejection. Sales can give you freedom. It can be the most beautiful profession that will open a new, better world and new opportunities in front of you, as well as lack of selling skills can lead you to bitterness, disappointment, and depression. A leverage that allows you to get out of the claws of mediocrity or a burden that will drag you down right to the bottom. It all depends on you, your determination, discipline, and desire to understand the motives that drives people purchasing behavior. Sale is the combination of skills and habits. It includes elements such as time management, setting priorities and goals, knowledge of the product and service, learning through experience, and constantly expanding your knowledge in terms of your market and potential clients. But it's also an inner game that contains elements deeply rooted in our subconscious, such as ability to constant motivation, endure stress and rejection, overcome mental barriers, building self-confidence, nonverbal communication, dealing with failures, and willingness to constant self-improvement. If you are not a born salesperson, it's even better. I haven't been such person too, but exactly this apparent disadvantage became my biggest strength. I had to work 1,000 times harder on what comes naturally to others. That forced me to go into details much deeper than I could ever imagine. Realize that the process of learning never ends. The sooner you accept that the completion cannot be reached, the faster your knowledge will grow, the sooner you achieve success in sales.